morning, boys and girls. So glad you're here with us this Sunday morning. We're going to start off with our new memory verse. It's from Numbers 14:8, and it says, "If the Lord is pleased with us, he'll lead us into the land. He'll give it to us." Numbers chapter 14, verse 8. If the Lord is pleased with us, he'll lead us into that land. He'll give it to us. That's from Joshua and Caleb when they were in the wilderness. Our Bible point is that Joshua and Caleb trusted God, and you can trust God too, no matter what. So we're going to start by reading our story today, and it comes from Numbers chapter 14, and it's called Wandering. God's rules and laws were perfect, but God's people were not. They wanted to obey the laws. They wanted to live holy lives. But they still made bad choices and did wrong things. When they thought God had left them, they made their own god, a calf made out of gold. God was very angry. But when the people said they were sorry, God forgave them. The Israelites prepared a special tent for God called a tabernacle. God placed a cloud over the tabernacle during the day. At night, he appeared as fire. Day or night, the people could see a sign of God's presence as he led them through the wilderness. God provided for his people as they made their way to the land of Canaan. God's brave explorers. After traveling in the wilderness, Moses and the Israelites reached the edge of Canaan, the land God had promised his people. They were weary travelers, and they were excited to know their journey was almost over. Moses called the people together. "Before we enter this promised land, we must send explorers to learn about the land and the people who live there," he said. Moses chose 12 explorers and gave them instructions. "Go south and then go to the mountains," he said. "See what the land looks like. Is the soil rich for planting? Are there lots of trees? Are the people strong or weak? What are the towns like? Are they open like camps, or do they have walls?" So the 12 explorers packed up and off they went. They searched and looked and investigated for 40 days. Then they returned to Moses with a report. "The land is awesome," said the explorers. "The soil is good for planting. Just taste these wonderful fruits we found. Grapes, pomegranates, and figs." They shared their treasures with the people. The Israelites couldn't wait to enter the land. Excitement grew among the people. Look at all that fruit they found. The land was good. But when Moses asked about the Canaanites who lived in the new land, the explorers began to disagree. 10 were fearful and told the others, "We can't go there. The cities are huge and they have tall walls around them. The people are big and strong. Some are as big as giants. They will kill us if we try to take their land," they cried. The fears of the 10 explorers quickly spread through the camp. "We were better off back in Egypt, living as slaves," the people protested. So the 10 of the explorers, they were causing fear. But 2 explorers, Caleb and Joshua, were not afraid. They were strong and brave, and they trusted God. "We can do it. We can take the land. The Lord is on our side. Don't be afraid of the people. They have no protection, but the Lord is with us." Despite all the good things God had done for his people, the people did not believe Caleb and Joshua. God was angry with the Israelites' lack of faith. Moses pleaded with God to forgive the people. God listened to Moses and agreed to forgive. But God did not allow his people to enter the land for another 40 years. So Caleb and Joshua said, "We can trust God. We can do it. God is on our side." But the people were already too afraid because the other 10 explorers had created that fear because they were afraid. And this made God angry. But you know what? Moses pleaded with God to forgive the people. And so God forgave them. But guess what? They had been wandering for 40 years, and God said, because you didn't trust me, you're not going to be able to enter Canaan, the land of Canaan, for another 40 years. Whew, that's a long time. A good man makes a mistake. Moses tried to be a good leader. He carefully followed God's instructions. He helped the people remember all of God's rules. When the Israelites grumbled, he tried to be patient. But Moses didn't always succeed. The Israelites could not find water in the desert. Once again, the people forgot how God had provided for them throughout their journey. They fussed and complained. They blamed Moses. We'll die in this desert if you don't find us water. We should have stayed in Egypt. Were the people trusting God? No, they weren't. Again, they weren't trusting in all that God had provided for them already. They had forgotten it, and they weren't believing in God and his promises. Well, Moses listened. Then, as always, he went to God. He asked God to provide water for the people. God answered his prayers. Gather the people around, God instructed. Take your walking stick and go to a rock. I will show you. Talk to the rock, and water will flow. Moses and his brother Aaron gathered the people, who were all griping and grumbling. Moses became angry and lost his temper. He shouted at the people for not trusting God. Then Moses smacked the rock twice with his stick. Immediately, water gushed out from the rock, enough for all the people and the animals. The people received what they needed, but Moses was punished for his action. Moses had disobeyed God and hadn't given him credit for the miracle. God said, because you did not believe me, and because you did not honor me as holy before the people, you will not lead them into the land I will give them. Moses remained the leader of the people of Israel, but because of his mistake, his leadership ended at the edge of the promised land. So God said, Moses, because you got angry, you disobeyed me, you will not get to enter the land that I promised my people. You will be the leader of my people until it's time for them to go into the promised land, and you won't get to enter. That's a pretty awesome story about trusting God. Did God's people trust him? They didn't, did they? They lost faith. They forgot all the things that God had done for them. And that can be easy to do when we're scared or afraid. But Moses, he kept going to God and praying and asking, please forgive them. And God did forgive them. And he reminded his people that you can trust me no matter what, because God always provided for them. When there was no water, God provided water. When there was no food, God provided food. God was going to protect his people no matter what. He had made a promise, and his people, all they had to do was trust him. Just like all you have to do is trust God. When you're scared or afraid or you're not sure of something, you can trust God. You can pray to him and ask him to help you, and God will. He will help you. Let's think about our story. What effect did the report from the 10 spies, the 10 bad spies, have on the Israelites? How did it make the Israelites feel when those 10 spies came back and told them about everything they had seen? Yeah, they were afraid. It created fear in the people because the 10 spies were afraid. But when Caleb and Joshua shared that they trusted God and they believed in him, the people were already too afraid. But what happens when we listen to God and we do what God says? Yes, God blesses us. He's there with you. Just like Caleb and Joshua trusted God, even when the others didn't. We can trust God no matter what. Even if others around you are saying, I'm scared, I don't know about that, I don't believe that, you can still trust God because God has promised to be there for you and with you no matter what. Okay, boys and girls, I want you to have a great week. I want you to remember that you can trust God in everything. Maybe you're scared of the dark. Maybe you're afraid you're not going to do good on a test. Maybe you're afraid because you're not sure if somebody's sick and they're not going to get better. You can trust God no matter what. He is with you. Have a great week. Remember, our memory verse is from Numbers chapter 14, verse 8. If the Lord is pleased with us, he'll lead us into that land. He'll give it to us, just like he promises. Just trust him.